You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. 8 p.m. in the Philippines, 12 midday on the universal clock, and ahead of us, in front of us, is the extent of Signal 4 warnings which prevail in front of Typhoon Rai, Philippine name Odette. Still, according to the ATCF system, a Category 4 with winds of 150 miles per hour, pressure of 929 millibars. There'll be an update to that soon. Early indications suggesting that they might drop it to 145 miles per hour, but they might go further than that. Regarding the storm's actual appearance then, right now, it looks a little bit like this somewhere. It's supposed to be on the screen. Let's take a look at a wide shot instead then, because it loads more quickly. This is what has happened in the last few hours. The storm made landfall on Siargao Island, then on Dinagat, and then 2 landfalls on southern Leyte, and then Bohol, and is now, I think, still currently inland over northern Bohol, or it might have actually just moved out over water again. We'll get the latest on that shortly. My name is Nathan Foy. I'm joined by my team this hour. Right now in the studio we have Armin, Zenitsu and Tofu, and somewhere waiting in the wings will be Walter, I think, in a few moments. But hello everyone, and lots to report since we were last on the air.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And with Pegasa expecting to update round about now with more information, we'll be waiting with bated breath on that one again. So let's first go to Armin if we can. What's the latest you've been hearing?
A lot of people are panicking in Cebu City because of this typhoon while it's heading towards them. Looks like it's gonna make a close approach, if not a direct pass through Cebu City, Metro Cebu, in the next few minutes or hours coming. There's already been reports of power outages and very strong conditions of typhoon conditions. Many are scared and don't know what to do. My heart is out for all those in this typhoon tonight, and I hope they keep safe.
Now, looking at the latest close-up satellite imagery that you can see on your screen here, it's hard to pinpoint an exact center because the eye is gone quite clearly, but it looks to be just off the northwestern tip, or just off the northwestern coast of Bohol, and that would put it approximately 30 kilometers from Cebu City, the center of the storm. So it's quite clear that typhoon conditions will be occurring there over significant populations, and if this still is producing those Category 4 winds, then you could at least see Category 3 winds in Cebu City perhaps. I don't think that's too too bold a claim to make. During this stream you can ask questions and submit your observations and anything really. Just tag us, Force 13 all in text. It will light up in the chat if you're watching us on our YouTube stream. We also have, in fact, let's go to Christopher, because I believe you're in Cebu. And I'm just hoping we can get their microphone in check. Maybe they're not quite ready for us yet. Zenitsu, anything you'd like to say as well?
Well, Nathan, the storm has packed a bunch of storm surge by the last time we went live. We got reports that a ship has been washed ashore because of the powerful storm surge that the system has packed. I'm not sure where this is, but I think I still have the picture if I can get it up there. Or wait, I'll have to keep looking for this picture, but
Yeah.
um, this is a reminder that storm surge can still affect people, and if you're still in Cebu right now, just try to shelter in place because there's nowhere left to go.
Just want to see if Christopher is there right now. As we continue looking at this imagery. I saw he toggled the microphone on a few moments ago. Ah, I think you're there now.
Hi, it's me, Christoph. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we've got you loud and clear.
I'm not quite sure how bad the delay is, so I'll just immediately give my sit rep.
Yep.
So I am here worse. About 50 minutes before I got here, it has just been heavy
Oh,
rain
struggling.
with occasionally a strong gust of wind, and right now it is essentially seems like this storm has just barreled through. At least the situation right now is not only rain, but rather there's been a lot of things falling off of either houses or actually fall have been staying away from that area with the galvanized metal, because there are informal settlers nearby here.
Oh, it's a tough line.
I think we lost him.
That is Christopher, who is in Cebu right now.
Galvanized sheets of metal falling and essentially just almost as if it is flying.
It's
That signal's not going to improve, unfortunately. We've got Armin is showing us an image.
This is the ship that was washed ashore. As
Wow. Yep. Let's see if we've got some more questions or comments and messages. Typhoon Compilation says, I live on the island of Cebu and the wind is very strong now. No more power and our kitchen roof just flew off.
oh dear.
So quite clearly there's going to be substantial probably wind damage. There's another video there.
Standard. That storm surge though.
That storm surge in Dulag Leyte.
Quite remarkable. So we continue to look at this imagery right now, which depicts the storm. Best estimate that we've got of the center right now. Again, quite hard to depict on satellite with the lack of eye, but it would appear that it is right along the coast of northwestern Bohol, and it appears to still be moving due west. So it would appear that landfall on Cebu would be to the south of Cebu City, near, just trying to figure out exactly where exactly. But it would be to the southwest of Cebu by around 25 kilometers. more videos appearing here.
That man is appearing
Uh,
to be somewhat
yes, he's
struggling.
holding the he's holding the doors because the wind is pushing it in. That means there's very strong winds right now in Cebu City.
Even someone has to
Oh,
hold.
absolutely. You would expect that there are typhoon conditions occurring there right now, easily. Now, more questions. When will it pass Iloilo City and what are the effects? Well, that would be coming fairly soon. Let me just get a movement speed once again on this storm. It appears to be moving fairly quickly. Again, it's a bit of a guesstimate because the eye isn't very forthcoming, but it looks to me as though it's moved a good 50 kilometers in the last hour, which is pretty fast movement, let's say. So if it was to continue that motion in the same direction, then Iloilo City will get the worst conditions in about 3 hours tonight, so late at night. And it does appear to me as though this storm is moving faster than forecasted.
We might have a sixth landfall
Okay.
in Unido in Bohol at 7:30 p.m. This has been confirmed by Mactan and Bohol radar.
And where's that?
Bian Unido, it's in Bohol.
Is that confirming the first Bohol landfall, or is there a second one?
There's a second one.
Oh, that's interesting. I can't find this location looking at the map here.
Apparently, Aklan, which is very, which is which has a distance from the center of the storm, has experiencing a power outages due to Typhoon Rai, Filipino name Odette.
Interestingly, it doesn't seem like all of Bohol is out of power. Here, I've come across a video from the town of Valencia in Bohol. It is showing quite the condition that you might expect out of a typhoon.
Let's have a look at that. Now, it is possible that that could be emergency power.
Looks
Perhaps.
looks like none of the other rooms in that building, and it's just that one light.
Yeah, it looked to me like that was an emergency light, or running on emergency power. We continue to track this storm, moving through Cebu very shortly, it would appear. In fact, you could argue that it's already making its closest approach to Cebu City. Again, it's hard to get a grip on the actual centre, but it looks to me as though it is just passing its closest pass to Cebu City right now, at a distance of about 20 kilometres, which means that most likely Category 3 conditions there. And that is very rare in Cebu City. It is on par with Typhoon Louise in 1964, possibly beating that. I'm not sure how strong the winds would have been from Typhoon Mike, but that will have been pretty close. If you're going to put the top three there, this would certainly be one of them, along with the other two I just mentioned. More questions. How high is the storm surge?
According to Pagasa storm surge warning, in some areas in Visayas, that would be 2.0 meters to
Hello,
3.
can I interrupt?
Yeah,
The 8 p.m. bulletin is now out. Odette has now weakened to 100 knots and is moving at 30 kilometers per hour to the west-northwest. Signal number 4 is now raised in southern Leyte, the southwestern portion of Leyte, Bohol, the central and southern portions of Cebu, the central and southern portions of Negros Oriental, the central and southern portions of Negros Occidental. Signal number 3 is now raised in the southern portion of Leyte, the northern portion of Cebu, the rest of Negros Oriental, Siquijor, the northern portion of Negros Occidental, Guimaras, the southern portion of Iloilo, the southern portion of Antique, the northern portion of Agusan del Norte, Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte including Siargao and Bucas Grande Islands. Signal number 2 is raised for Albay, Sorsogon, Masbate including Ticao and Burias Islands, Romblon, Oriental Mindoro, Occidental Mindoro, mainland Palawan including Kalayaan, Balabac, Puyo, and Calamian Islands, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Biliran, the rest of Leyte, the rest of Cebu, the rest of Negros Occidental, the rest of Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, and the rest of Antique, Surigao del Sur, Agusan del Sur, the rest of Agusan del Norte, the extreme northern portion of Zamboanga del Norte, the extreme northern portion of Zamboanga del Sur, Misamis Occidental, the northern portion of Lanao del Norte, Misamis Oriental, Camiguin, the northern portion of Bukidnon, the northern portion of Lanao del Sur. Signal number 1 is raised for Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, the rest of Albay, Marinduque, the southern portion of Quezon, Batangas, the northern portion of Davao Oriental, the northern portion of Davao de Oro, the northern portion of Davao del Norte, the rest of Bukidnon, the rest of Lanao del Norte, the rest of Lanao del Sur, the rest of the northern portion of Zamboanga del Norte, the rest of the northern portion of Zamboanga del Sur, and the northern portion of Zamboanga Sibugay. That's the 8 p.m. bulletin of Pag-asa.
that was a lot of signal warnings. And uh, the signal warnings have not yet north towards Metro Manila, which is a good sign. But looking at the hazards affecting land areas part in the bulletin, it does still say here that heavy to intense rains are expected tonight through tomorrow early morning over central Visayas, Misamis Oriental, Camiguin, Bukidnon, southern Leyte, and Negros Occidental. Um, and severe winds, of course, there will be severe winds as mentioned under the signal warnings. And there will also be coastal inundation due to the storm surge. Uh, that's pretty much. Oh wait. Pagasa has also confirmed 3 landfalls since its 5 p.m. bulletin. At 5:40 p.m. it made landfall over Padre Burgos, in southern Leyte. At 6:30 p.m. it made landfall over President Carlos P. Garcia, Bohol. And at 7:30 p.m. it made landfall over Bien Unido, Bohol.
Also, that in the eastern part, the Signal 4 warnings that are in effect for the first landfall zones have dropped to Signal 3 for Siargao del Norte, Dinagat Islands. Still Signal 4 for southern Leyte. And there's some more news that's just come in from the ATCF system, which has got an update on the storm's intensity now. They're going with 130 miles per hour and a pressure of 936 millibars, so weakening, of course, as you can see. But still, that's a Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. And if that was to hold, that would be the first ever official Category 4 landfall on Cebu.
I believe Christopher has an update from his location.
At least I think it is. Oh no, it isn't. Sorry. Pardon me. Mike was a Category 4 as well. What was that?
I think Christopher said he has an update from the location.
All right. Go
All
right
right.
ahead.
I hope that can be heard. There is quite a bit of a delay with the mobile data, so I do apologize if it seems like there's a long pause of silence. We are still under a power outage after all, but there has been an update, obviously, with the Pagasa Bulletin, and it has just gotten worse. The winds are much stronger than what I've initially said earlier, and there have been. I did mention that it sounded like galvanized metal was flying. Well, there have been galvanized metal flying. In fact, one of them just landed right in front of my location. I'm in a safe distance away from it, thankfully, but it was absolutely terrifying when I saw it land right in front of me. At one point also there was some sheet metal which is used for roofing, by the way, that has landed on electric wire, which is not something you'd see every day, but with a storm like this, anything is possible at this rate. Right now, the winds are still very, very strong. The gusts, in particular, were so strong that I actually saw one of the house's window frames actually go into the house, which just shows you the force of these gusts from this typhoon. The rain, on the other hand, has been kind of strange. It's mostly moderate, but it's mostly understandable with the wind, obviously, that blowing it everywhere. I'm not sure if you just heard another sheet of
Yeah.
galvanized metal fall onto the ground here. It's still very strong. Gusts are still strong enough to just blow anything away that the storm can just pick up at this point. So it is still a very, very dangerous situation right now, and it's no surprise that our disaster risk reduction council is on essentially red alert at this moment. It's still dangerous. Do not go out.
Thank you very much for that update, Christopher. Just to remind us all, where exactly are you? I think we might have lost
I
him
believe
with the delay.
it's in Mandaue City.
I have a video here from Cebu that perhaps could visualize what Christoph is experiencing right now for the viewers that is having quite a hard time visualizing
see.
what he's describing. This is probably the best that you could get.
Go ahead.
Pitch black, no power, howling winds, absolutely drizzling rain. In fact, so dark. I don't think most of you could see what is going on. I could assure you it's not just black screen though.
Oh my.
Yep, so that's the current view, or recent view, in Cebu, which is currently getting battered by Category 3 typhoon winds. At this moment in time.
Ay, sa sud man diay ang atong balay. Nasa sud sa atong atop.
That is Christopher in the background there.
Seems like there's something happening.
21 kilometers away from from Cebu City is the center of the typhoon right now, the center of the eye. It will make landfall a little bit further south, towards, I think it's Carcar City. And then it will move through the central part of the island of Negros a little bit later on in the early hours of the morning. If you've got more comments or questions for us, of course, we are here to take them. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. It will light up big and bright for us on the YouTube chat section, and we'll try and get some of those answered whenever we can. Major situation that's continuing to unfold and has been for some time now. The latest information is that the storm is weakening. The ATCF system coming out with 130 miles per hour sustained winds, which is much weaker than it was earlier, but that is still one of the strongest storms to make landfall on Cebu, and certainly one of the biggest impacts for Cebu City.
So I think this is a big storm. Most Cebuanos don't remember a storm of this intensity hitting them since maybe Ruping, I mean Mike,
Yeah,
Ruping or Ining Liling, which was in 1964.
yeah. Those are the other two that it would be in league with. Some questions then. Is it slowly weakening or fast weakening due to land interaction? I would say it's pretty slow, really, considering the land areas. I mean, there's more land in the way now, so we may see some more weakening here. But it might turn out that the Jtwc forecast might end up being correct. It goes down to maybe a high in Category 2 through Palawan and then strengthening again. Any info out of Southern Leyte is a question from Mogman. I am not sure. In fact, I know people who have family there who have lost contact, so I've no idea really what we're looking at there, and indeed the other locations that received landfalls earlier on.
Just a quick reminder that Southern Leyte is still under a signal number 4 warning.
Yeah. And just bringing up the latest now on our bottom bar, showing that the storm is now at 130 miles per hour. Walter, I don't think you've had much chance to speak so far. What are your thoughts on the storm?
I was not here yesterday because of some work, and I was not here either in the last live that we did, which is the Landfall live, because I was at school. But I was closely monitoring this, and I think that this is phenomenal. I mean, this storm managed to intensify to a Category 5. Yeah, Category 5. To what? It intensified from a Category 1 to a 5 in less than 24 hours. Well, I mean, that's what the Westpac delivers, but when you see it in reality, it's still very astonishing, and is also very devastating for the Philippines as well. I believe it was the strongest landfall in Siargao Island in like
Siargao Island.
years.
Siargao. General
In
Luna.
like 50 something years.
I'm trying to remember what the stats were from last night. Yeah, stronger than anything really on the record. The next strongest was Emma in 1952, which was a Category 3.
Wow.
Dinagat Island has had a landfall from Mike, so I think that might have this storm beat, perhaps. I'm not sure. No, Mike was 150 miles per hour when it landfalled on Dinagat Island. This storm may have beaten that, we're not sure. We'll have to look at reanalysis. I don't know about Bohol statistics, or indeed Southern Leyte, but for Cebu, as I've mentioned, it's in league with Louise and Mike for the strongest landfalls. whilst we're on that curious topic, let's check data for southern Leyte. It got hit by Mike, which at the time was still officially 140 miles per hour. Again, we're not sure whether this storm might have that beat or not. Certainly, officially with what they've gone with so far, it is, but was it really that strong? We're not sure yet. Although it's a tough field with Bohol actually, because they've had a couple of very strong landfalls in the past. Typhoon Ike was still, well, it was weakening substantially, probably wasn't still a Category 4 by that point. But Louise struck there as well, and it was weakening from its Category 4 strength. So those two are contenders that would possibly match up with this storm. And then when we look at central Negros, perhaps, Mike was a little bit further north. That was still officially a Category 4 when it struck. Ike was a Category 2 by that point. For the central part of Negros, this is probably the strongest typhoon, and it's interesting to point out that south of Ike's landfall, which occurred, trying to pick out a location along the island near Gihulngan city, I think it is. Basically, anywhere south of there has never received typhoon conditions. So this one will be getting pretty close to that threshold too. The strongest landfall on the island of Guimaras, Mike was a Category 3 still at that point. And then after that you had Amy in 1951, which was a Category 2. This could still be a Category 3 by that point. And those two storms continued into southern Panay, which is where this storm may be going. Looking towards the northernmost part of Palawan, the area around El Nido perhaps, or Taytay, there's been nothing stronger than a Category 1 that has made landfall along that area. This could be a high-end Category 2 when it strikes northern Palawan. A little caveat to that.
Historic storm indeed.
A little caveat to that is that Mike just missed to the north and was still a Category 2. So that one was pretty close. So a few historical comparisons there. This is, if it's not been made clear so far, right on the high end of what we've seen throughout history, at least in the last 70 years.
This will be in the history books.
I've been monitoring Twitter, the ODPH hashtag, and there are a lot of people in Cebu just sending pictures and a video, probably terrifying at the horror movie-like situation they're in. No power, pitch black, howling winds, drizzling rains, flash flooding everywhere, and you could totally understand that considering it's been a very, very long time since they experienced anything like this. And so when they just and so for a lot of people this is going to be their first time, and so looking at when they're faced with a situation like this, they are probably are absolutely frozen in fear, not exactly knowing what to do now that the storm is here, and that they can't really do anything else other than just hope for the best and that they could survive this in one piece.
The only storm I can think of that could be comparable for places like northern Negros, just north of Cebu City, Iloilo region, is a typhoon that struck in November 1912, which was very powerful, Category 5 landfalls in the eastern Visayas, still rumoured to be a Category 4 by the time it reached northern Negros, and weakening to a Category 3 by the time it reached Iloilo. Of course, that's speculation, considering that observations wouldn't have been as good. but quite potentially that is the one to look back at. Just another storm in the record books there. If you've got any comments or questions for us whilst we're on the air, of course we're here to take them. Send them into the chat section on our YouTube chat right now, and it will light up for us. Shoal says, can we please know the signal number in Aklan right now?
Plan is under a signal number 2 warning.
Signal 2 there. We would have shown you the latest Pegasa map, but I think they've sunk due to heavy load.
I sent the map on live discussion. That's my map at least.
I see. So this is what we'll be able to show you, at least for the time being. Those warning signals. Unfortunately a little bit cut off there because of our panel. But that there is the latest state of play. Earlier in the hour, the ATCF updated to show 130 mile per hour winds, pressure 936. We'll wait and see whether the Jtwc will go with that. They usually follow the ATCF. We've actually got the warning map in best quality now once again on our screen here. So that is the latest for those looking. A large swathe of signal 2 warnings north of the storm's path. Let's see if we can get some more rain rate images. We showed this a lot this morning. Take a look at this. There's still, all the rain is really starting to die out in the areas that were first getting it. Siargao. They've got fairly low rain rates now. That's thanks to the big damage that wind shear did to the storm earlier. But Bohol is still getting very high amounts of rainfall. In some areas they're still at the 75 millimeters per hour threshold. Cebu, not quite as much on that imagery, but still some areas quite comfortably getting to 40 millimeters per hour.
Nathan, Armin is streaming something from another bulletin right here.
Alright, let's just try and get to that right now.
Wow.
Armin's image. Now that is high water.
This is incredible.
Is that in Bangsamoro? Oh, that's Lano del Sur.
Lanao del Sur.
And I think this will be a very common sight across a lot of these locations.
Yep, that is indeed Bangsamoro.
My friend from Bohol is now unreachable. He set up a live stream to the conditions in Bohol, but then suddenly it just stopped due to Typhoon Rai. It's the first time that Bohol has been placed under a signal number 4.
First time?
Apparently
We were
so.
only number 3 in Haiyan.
Oh,
Oh. Wow.
that's a frightening thought to hear. Or actually fact to hear.
We have confirmed deaths from IFMCDO. 1 dead due to them being, oh my god, crushed by a tree trunk.
My God.
Well, I'm not
One
exactly
dead and two
surprised about
are
that.
injured.
I mean, deaths are inevitable in these situations, but when you when you when you really uh, heard of the when you really heard of the fact, it's still unbearable.
Well, death from falling trees or being hit by flying debris is unfortunately quite common in tropical cyclones.
Yeah.
It's for either people who are trying to get to shelter or are people trying to help get people to shelter. Unfortunately, uh, sometimes it's just inevitable that there will be at least a few people that will be in the crossroad of flying debris or falling trees.
The rotation of the storm still quite clearly visible on that satellite imagery, although the eye is less forthcoming. In fact, it's pretty hard to tell actually whether that eye is that little depression opening up down there, but I think the center of the storm is in the Cebu Strait, making its closest approach to Cebu City right now at about 20 kilometers.
Oh, Christopher sent some images of the galvanized steel.
There's the flying debris of steel that he was talking about earlier.
So this is what we're continuing to look at. Still a category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, 130 mile per hour winds. That is, I think, just about still over 200 kilometers per hour. Farhan showing us that image that was sent in by Christopher.
Oh, too close. Right. Yeah, it's very bent, as you can see.
So we've got all of this going on right now. Cebu very much getting the worst of the storm at this moment. More questions. Could the storm intensify in the waters surrounding the island in between them? Well, it hasn't. It may well slow down the weakening, though.
We're getting reports of strong winds all across Cebu here, and that there's been a brownout in Antique already.
Yeah, it's quite concerning, more so when this storm, I mean, those locations further east, it was a daytime storm. It's now, of course, a nighttime situation for a lot of these places.
That's really worrying because you can't see what's happening outside, and it's a literal blackout.
As I said, it's pretty much straight out of a horror movie. You can't see anything. It's pitch black. You're hearing sounds, whether that's gushing water, drizzling rain, howling wind, howling wind. But you have absolutely no idea what to do or how to act. It is a complete nightmare scenario, and it would be. I wouldn't be quite surprised if there are quite a few people over there that is having mental breakdowns because they are experiencing such traumatic experiences for the first time in their lives, since Cebu has never exactly experienced anything like this in recent history.
So, our coverage continues here on Force 13 Live, with not too much left to say regarding the storm's forecast, I suppose. But right now you can quite clearly visually see it progressing probably due west through, just about to reach Cebu, about 20 kilometers south of Cebu City, and then continuing westwards and holding on to Category 4 status right now. Once again, let's throw it back to the signal warnings. That's the latest from Pegasa. You can see those signal 4s highlighted in red. Still in effect for southern Leyte, although it's been reduced to signal 3 in the areas that first got landfalls in Siargao del Norte and Dinagat. And Farhan, you're showing us the water vapor imagery on your screen as well.
Yes, it is 20 minutes old though, so it's not a news thing, but I think it's still a good visualization of what's happening with the storm. Although the eye is non-existent now, you could still make out the classic circular tropical cyclone structure pretty well, as it is barreling into Cebu and into the next two islands after that, whose name I have completely forgotten. Yeah, that is how it is looking right now.
Would someone like to recap what we've heard so far regarding damages and flooding?
Basically, strong damages. We've seen in places that flooding has maybe been a story level, but we don't know for sure for other areas. Maybe it could be less, maybe it could be more. Storm surge is also taking a toll on the people near the impact zone. As we can see from the chat, most of the impacts right now are strong winds.
Well, they certainly are, but we've seen a lot regarding flooding as well, and something that we're very concerned about with the amount of rain that was falling over northern Mindanao, particularly the
Armin,
Siargao
wait,
provinces.
some flooding in late.
Let's have a look at this. So where's this? This looks like storm surge then.
It's multiple areas. That is eastern summer.
Very expected.
Whoa.
I mean, that more resembles a small tsunami rather than a storm surge in the way it came in just then.
You know what it reminds me? It actually reminds me of the famous storm surge footage from Mike Tyson at Biloxi, Mississippi during Katrina. The way how it is just one small wave coming in, and then sort of going out, but then coming in again. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but there is quite the resemblance in how it is. Instead of one big gulp of wave, storm surge like we saw in Haiyan, it's just one small wave, one after the other.
Again, if you have any questions for us, start your message with Force 13 all in text, and your observations. Very important that we get those out as well. It will light up for us if you start your message with Force 13 all in text. Of course, a lot of locations that would be reporting are unable to right now due to power outages, communications outages. Christopher, I think, is still with us there on temperamental signal. I think they're in Mandawi City, which is on the eastern side of Cebu City. And what you saw there earlier, roofing being flown about, and that is probably going to be a common scene across the whole region. Let's see if we can get any better established with where the center of the storm is right now. I'm just looking at some more imagery, whether it suggests anything in particular. It gets a little bit harder to trace the exact center of the storm, but at the moment it would appear to be, it is hard to tell, but probably around 22 kilometers due south of Cebu City. It appears to have not moved that much in more recent frames, although it's hard to tell. It seemed to be moving very quickly when it was moving over Bohol at about 50 kilometers per hour for a time. It's hard to trace, but at the moment probably back down to about 30-25 kilometers per hour, which has been its general movement speed.
I've come across a video from the same account, which was showing a video from Limanasa Island. So I assume it's also from Limanasa Island, which is just offshore of southern Leyte. The person has posted again of how the current conditions are over there. And this time it's quite well lit. It's not totally.
So let's have a look right now.
Still quite gusty and quite dangerous to be out in, but if this is indeed from Limanasa Island, like the previous video this account posted, then this should be dying down, and it should be a safer situation in the coming hours over there.
Where was that again?
Limanasa Island, southern Leyte.
Okay. So, I mean, daylight will obviously show what exactly has happened in all of those locations. That's some time away, of course. But I imagine it won't be a great sight for some areas. But the principal threat for a lot of these areas now will be flooding, even though this storm still carries wind speeds of around 200 kilometers per hour sustained and higher gusts. It is still likely that Category 3 conditions are probably occurring in Cebu City and the vicinity of, and that is set to continue onto the island of Negros shortly, and it looks like it will pass a little bit south of Guimaras Island and southern Panay. Just to reiterate again, at the top of the hour earlier, Signal 4 warnings remained in effect for all of these areas in red. Signal 3 warnings still quite widespread as well.
I've just come across a post reporting from Negros Occidental of the wall to their house is bent inward, which is not good considering the storm is not there yet. I'm not sure if it's feasible, but this is a wall and it's bent inwards and it's quite pushing into this pillar here. That's not good considering the storm. The worst of the storm for Negros Occidental is not even there yet. And if this person doesn't seek shelter, it's possible that they and their family would be susceptible to flying debris and extremely high wind speed when this part of the wall eventually caved in. So it's a very dangerous situation for them.
Not good. Pretty crazy right now. The aerial coverage of the typhoon is still quite substantial. Minus 80-degree cloud tops still fighting away inside the storm's core, and I would say the major banding and core region extends probably about 320 kilometers north to south. Quite clearly tropical storm force winds in that, and possibly typhoon gusts in that whole area.
Oh, I've been seeing some people in Cebu complaining about their ears ringing.
Probably because of the pressure. The pressure is dropping, probably.
Walter's showing us some radar imagery.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is about an hour ago, so that's a little bit outdated, unfortunately. But well, you can still see a very large what's that called, radar eye, or a little gap.
Same issue with eyesight during the landfall coverage in terms of the radar being outdated and not exactly cooperative due to one reason or another in terms of being useful in showing us what's going on with the storm radar-wise.
Oh, it
Question-
updated.
Oh,
Wait, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's still 7:30 p.m. on the last frame.
all right. A question about how strong is the storm right now, as mentioned, about 130 miles per hour.
And 936 millibars.
936 millibars in kilometers per hour. That is still pretty high. It's over 200. Still yet to figure it out.
Oh, Walter, did you
200
refresh the page
kilometers per hour.
for the radar?
We're continuing to monitor the satellite imagery as well as we look to see, try and pick out where exactly the center of the storm is. If I've got my bearings right now, the center of the storm is probably at 10.09 north, 123.84 east, which would now put it 24 kilometers south-southwest of Cebu City. And if it continues moving west, then it would make landfall in 18 kilometers at Carcar City. So it is literally halfway between Bohol and Cebu, the island, at this point. And at the movement speed, if it's not stalling, then we'll probably see landfall in Cebu within the next hour, or maybe even half an hour. We're going to take a short break here now as we've reached the end of the hour. We'll have more coverage on this storm in a few moments. It's going to be a long evening, and for our team it's been a very long 24 hours. We are dedicated to continuing our coverage as much as possible, and we'll be back with you, ready to take more questions and offer more observations on the storm in just a moment. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. A live look at the warnings that are currently in effect in the Philippines. Signal 4 warnings remaining in effect for significant chunks of the Visayas region as Category 4 Rai, Philippine name Odette, rolls through the islands. A pretty poor situation on our hands, unfortunately, but we're here rolling with it. My name is Nathan Foy, once again in the studio, and for this hour we have our team Armin, Farhan, Ian, Christopher, Zenitsu, the phone expert, and Walter. A lot of our time is really spent just sitting and watching at this point, as is often the case during landfall events. People send in their information, observations on the ground, very important, by the way. If it is safe to do so, please send in your reports. And
if the storm has made landfall over Cebu.
And signal 4 warnings you can see still in effect. Category 4 with winds of 130 miles per hour. Let's first go to Armin's screen. You're showing us some more video on the ground. And as you can see, a lot of debris there. I can't quite tell what that is. But strong winds wherever that is. I assume that's Cebu or somewhere around there. A message of support from A Moment of Lovely, thanking us for the coverage. You know, we appreciate that. Oh, look at that.
A roof just got blown off.
Oh, that's a big roof shingle. Whoa, there goes another one.
Wow.
Well, we appreciate the support for our streams, especially during these times.
And as I said in the earlier stream that we did, we're investing even more into live streaming in 2022, so hopefully our live streaming coverage will be even better somehow. We have to figure out logistically. It's all fine making an investment. That was a live video apparently. So let's try and navigate back to satellite imagery. There's a wide shot of the infrared. Farhan.
Yeah, I just want to relay the message from Christopher, who is our correspondent from Cebu. He is currently in the call, but probably no longer able to speak due to the conditions. He relayed to us that the wind gust is picking up, which is natural considering the storm is pretty much just moments away from landfall on the island right now. So that is how he is experiencing it right now.
And also a signal of support from, I think it's Dean or Nene Aquino. Aquino, thank you very much for your support there, and also posted a comment there. Has it hit northern Cebu yet? Well,
Where's the current location of the typhoon? Honestly, I'm not sure. It might be above Cebu. But
as a matter of fact, northern Cebu there, you can see on the wide shot, and you'll probably be able to see it on the closer up shot as well, is actually past the worst of the storm. The very northern part of Cebu there. You can see there that the storm, if you were to draw a line vertically, the storm is west of there.
Like
So,
it's degrading slightly.
sure, yep. But
Could be the result of land interaction.
for northern Cebu, it's not over, but the worst of the storm should have just passed you in places like Bogo City there, I think that is at the very northern part. Cebu is still probably receiving the worst of it. At the closest point to Cebu, it was 20 kilometers. Now it's probably about 24 kilometers roughly. And let's see if I can get another position estimate for everyone to give you an indication of its movement. Again, quite hard to decipher considering that a satellite eye is no longer visible. But we expect that the center of the storm now is probably about 13 kilometers away from making landfall. And that would be near Car City. And it's currently 14 kilometers south of Talisay. They'll be getting some the very worst of what the storm has to offer right now. Once again, if you've got more questions for us, please start your message with Force 13 or in text. We will do our best. CJ says they appreciate our live stream in Cebu City. We can hear the loud wind and this helps us prepare for the worst. Thank you very much. Typhoon Skip says, will Rai intensify after passing Palawan? If so, what's the sea surface temperatures? We'll go into models in a moment that will show you all of that information. If you've just joined us, this is still a Category 4 typhoon with estimated winds of around 130 kilometers per hour. That is over in excess of 200 kilometers per hour sustained winds with higher gusts to Category 5 gusts still quite easily.
I am seeing a post here from, I assume, a hotel in Cebu City of people just crowding the stairwells. I assume that's because it's no longer safe to stay in your rooms or your regular hallways because of the wind.
Crikey.
But it's quite a lot of people here that I could see that's crowding the stairwell. I can't exactly read the Tagalog in the post, so I'm not sure if they are staying in the stairwell or they are going upstairs. But whatever the case, it is a lot of people that is currently in the stairwell.
Basically, it says that they are crowded in the fire exit stairs. They're saying that staying in the room's not safe, taking the elevator isn't safe either, and they are using generators because the power is out.
Thank you to Frank Rizzoli for your support also during this stream. And as mentioned, it makes future streams even more useful. That's our aim. That's what we hope that we will achieve. And when you look back through live streaming that we've done over the years, things have gotten much better in terms of what we've been able to do. We've been doing live updates on storms in the Western Pacific now for nearly 10 years. We started with, or at least I personally started with Typhoon Vicente, I think was the very first storm back in 2012.
Oh, really?
That was a Category 4, yeah, just off Hong Kong. One of the first, certainly. Someone just asked about the color scale on this once again. So this is the satellite imagery and the colors represent cloud top heights and temperatures. Now there's the scale I've just overlaid on the top of it. The cloud top temperatures generally correspond to the intensity of the storm. It's a indirect way of trying to ascertain the rain rate as well. So the higher the cloud tops, generally the more rainfall inside them. So the higher the cloud tops there, the more intense the conditions likely underneath. So minus 80s there, still quite a few of those. A lot of -70s still as well. And when we're looking at a storm structure and trying to determine the strength of it from satellite, we look at cloud top temperatures along with eye structure to make a informed analysis. But back to Farhan's video, more going on there.
Quite dramatic scenes from earlier in Cagayan de Oro city of the Philippine Coast Guard rescue operations.
Have we given Christopher a cue to speak because he says he can do a live update?
All right, Christopher. Hopefully the signal will stay okay. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Well, let's hope that the cell towers. I'm very sorry for that. Let's hope the cell towers are okay right now because the gusts have just gotten even stronger. About 30 minutes ago, I said they were very strong. The galvanized steel has been flying everywhere. Well, now they're strong enough that I can hear just whistling in the wind. Now, that may have to do with the houses, with the roofs now just getting blown off. I'm not sure about that, but the gusts themselves have gotten even stronger. In fact, right now, I just saw a piece of galvanized steel that was on the ground that has just flown over about 15 meters from where it was. The winds have just not calmed down yet. It's almost as if this is now the center of the storm, but there is no center. If anything, it's just more of an area that is more towards the core of the storm right now. It is still absolutely absolutely catastrophic winds and gusts. Rain is still essentially a mist in the air. It is not easy to see when you're under there. I tried. It is not possible. And even then, it is not safe to go out still right now. Blackouts, obviously, everywhere around where the core of this storm is. And I can just hear destruction every time gusts just pick up. Every minute even now, like around between 3 to 5 minutes, there's just strong gusts. And I just hear galvanized steel getting blown anywhere at this point. Main concern for my location right now are some relatively tall not really trees, but relatively tall plants that actually do reach some of the electrical wires. Oh, sorry about that. There's just another strong gust of wind. It seems to be just getting stronger, stronger and stronger as time passes by. It's not over yet. And there's just going to be more of this for the coming hours, be it in Mandaue, where I am right now, or possibly even worse in Metro Cebu, guys.
Christopher, can you tell us at all, if it's possible, whether the wind direction has shifted at all?
The wind direction does not appear to have shifted. I'm not quite sure, obviously, if it will shift while we're going to be on air here. I am slightly north, obviously, of Metro Cebu. That's where Mandaue City is located. But the direction of the wind...
Oh, there goes your signal.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh no.
Christopher, if you could still hear us, I think it would be better if you got off this call and just try to get to the safest place that is in your house. The situation seems to be getting quite serious where you are, and it's only going to be even worse because the core of the storm will be making landfall very shortly. So if you could still hear us, please just get to the safest place in your house right now.
As you can hear, the signal of Christopher being cut out by the storm.
Still got his signal from 2 minutes ago cutting through. We've got another message of support from Philazi. Their family is in Cebu City, and that report was from near Cebu. in, I forget the name of the place once again, in nearby Mandawi city.
Is the eye
Indications
of the
showing right now that the storm is around 8 kilometers from landfall in Cebu, and it looks like the landfall location might be just south of Karkar city now.
Just a question in chat. Where's the eye of the storm right now? It has disappeared, but there's still a radar eye. Pagasa has not yet updated its radar. Surprising.
Well, let's have that promised look at the models then right now, the GFS showing what its analysis is of the storm. So it initialized this morning at 6 UTC. This is for 9 AM UTC. That's 4 hours ago. It initialized the storm with winds of 127 miles per hour, which is a little bit lower than what it would have been. And then it moves over those land areas. How much does it weaken? Looks like it weakens to a category 2. Let's try and get a just about category 2, and then moves through Palawan, and then let's see, does it strengthen a lot? Quite a bit there. Just looking at that second peak intensity, where'd it go? Maybe at that point there. How strong is that? That's actually still category 2, probably low end category 3 peak then. Interestingly, that latest model run gives Vietnam more of a run for its money after it just does a little deliberate jog westward there and then moves northwards and dies off. Interestingly, still traceable there and not closed low, but gaining wind speed again at that very end of that loop near Hainan. Now, talking about sea surface temperatures, in the South China Sea and between the Philippine Islands. I'll have to do some conversions for you here. And okay, that's great. Let's take a look. So these are in Fahrenheit. I'll obviously convert to Celsius. About 26 degrees Celsius near where the storm made landfall. In between all the islands, the temperatures there hovering around 25 in some areas, interestingly, but generally around 28 degrees, especially ahead of the storm. Obviously temperatures will decrease underneath the storm due to the cloud cover, but look over there towards Palawan, 28 degrees Celsius, and then the South China Sea, if it stays low latitude, 28s all the way. And then off the coast of Vietnam, still staying at about the 26 degree point, which is warm enough to sustain the tropical cyclone, although other factors will weaken it. Quick look at the rest of the Western Pacific, still baking hot waters in the Philippine Sea if there was another system to form anytime soon, 29 degrees, widespread. And further north, temperature's still good enough as far north or pretty much to Taiwan nearly, and the northern end of the Mariana Island chain. And that's all from the GFS model right now.
There are some surface observations of Cebu with a pressure of 983 millibars in 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's like about 6 p.m. 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Philippine time.
This storm is really moving at a fast pace, and indications are showing that it might be making landfall right now just south of Karkar City in Cebu. Again, it's not easy to tell, but our indications are showing that the storm appears to be, if there is still an intact eye in there, that it may already be now over land in Cebu, at the edge of the eye, and that the center would make landfall within minutes. In terms of distance to Cebu, if that was the case, that distance is starting to increase, now up to about 35-36 kilometers away. So hopefully conditions will start to improve there shortly, and maybe we'll be able to get Christopher back if he's able to stay with us a little bit later on.
He has dropped out of the call right now. So I think he's just dropping everything and just going to the safest point in his house. I hope.
Let's take another look at Armin's screen. What's this? So that was earlier. We've seen that location. I can't remember where that was.
I believe it's southern Leyte.
And this was what we saw earlier as well. Wind really blowing through there like crazy.
Christopher has delivered us some text version of sitraps. He said that rain is now torrential, wind has been moving to the west ever since, and there are near zero visibility as well.
The worst of the storm affecting Cebu right now. Let's look at rain rates. As a matter of fact, you can see there those very latest images. The highest rain rates in the entire storm right now are just off Cebu City, and actually probably over Mandaue City right now, or at least on Mactan Island. So very heavy rainfall there. Those black areas denote around 60 millimeters per hour. In fact, we've got a scale for this one too. Let's see if we can get that up. It certainly beats me having to try and explain it. There is what the scale means. For some reason the black has disappeared on the 60 to 75 part, but that is all black.
Wow.
But that just shows you what the estimates are right now there. But it is getting very hard to discern exactly where the center of the storm is now. From what I'm seeing, it looks like it's making landfall in Cebu as we speak.
They're waiting for the Joint Typhoon Warning Center to release their Jtwc update.
And when you're looking at this imagery and trying to look for the rotation and the point where the outflow begins, it really appears there that it is coming from the coast of Cebu, that it is indeed making landfall. Or maybe we're being completely fooled. Wind shear appears to still be taking a toll on the storm, and perhaps that those cloud tops are further west than the low-level center. Another message of support from Nina Quino. What time is it in Cebu now? How long is this typhoon expected to stay? First landfall in Karkar. And it would be, they say it would be lovely to get crowdsourced updates from people if they still have cell signal on Twitter. So obviously the current time in Cebu is now at 9:27 p.m. across the whole of the Philippines. The it would appear that the worst of the typhoon is just starting to leave Cebu City, and the eastern side much weaker than the western side, or much more condensed, certainly, due to that wind shear that's been occurring. It is conceivable that maybe in just a couple of hours the worst of the rainfall will be gone, although the winds will probably be staying up for a while.
In the chat, there's also a fair share of comment from people who are panicking. One of them here that Armin shared is someone saying that the windows where they are have shattered and that the people are screaming. And for people who are in that situation, please just drop everything and get to the safest place that is available in your building. A hallway, a staircase, a closet, whatever. Just get away from the windows as far as possible and try to get as high position as possible. Just drop everything and just get to a safe place, because at this moment there is no point of giving updates anymore. Just save yourself and your loved ones. That should be your number one priority right now.
Armin showing us some more video here.
That's from Mandaue, where Christopher was.
So that is the view from there. That's not actually from Christopher, is it? It's someone else in the area.
Yeah, someone else in the area.
So that was a video from that area. We continue to watch the storm closing in. Again, it's hard to tell, but it would appear that the storm has perhaps made landfall on Cebu now, just a couple of kilometers south of Karkar City. And to be honest, it's not certainly far from being the most dense populated part of the island. Just 25 kilometers north, and it would have been an eye pass for Cebu City. But that's the situation that we have right now. There's a message before about sea level pressure, mean sea level pressure reports. 981.7 at Gwilhungan, 982.7 at Mactan. And what is the maximum rainfall recorded on the whole island? Well, not really sure. I think this storm has been a big rain producer. I think it's quite reasonable to suggest that it will have exceeded 400 millimeters. On Bohol, certainly. Northern Siargao, most definitely. Interestingly, when we look back at the rain rate graphics again, there, we saw a lot of bad stuff from Cagayan de Oro. Wind shear will have certainly been a friend there, because the eastern side of the storm is a lot more bare than the western side now, and looks like most of the rain for Cagayan de Oro and for Siargao and everywhere in easternmost Mindoro has mostly cleared. A few band showers though could produce some heavy rainfall and high rain rates, and still the potential for flash flooding if those if your area isn't flooded already.
The nightmare seems to be coming to a close for areas in Cagayan or Siargao City and the areas where the storm first made landfall, though those hours of nightmare is still just beginning for people in Cebu and Negros Occidental, if I have my bearings correctly. So it's ending for one side and starting for the other.
Still 130 mile per hour winds on this storm and a pressure of 936 millibars. That's the latest estimate. And the latest position estimate now is that the storm is over land, over Cebu, and is located, well, actually, it's tough to call, but we think that a landfall occurred at 20 minutes past 9, and that landfall will have occurred at Sibonga, which is a few kilometers south of Carcar City, about 42 kilometers southwest of Cebu City. That's what we think right now, that a landfall has occurred at Sibonga at 20 past 9. As the storm continues westwards, if it continues due west, it's only got 19 kilometers of land before moving over the Tanyon Strait and then moving on to Negros, which is 41 kilometers away from the storm center right now, and we'll probably be looking at a landfall area at La Libertad and then continuing westwards. Let's reiterate those warnings that are in effect. This was from the last Pegasa update at 8 p.m. showing that Signal 4 warnings remain in effect for southern Leyte, Bohol, the southern half of Cebu, really, more than half, a big chunk of the island of Negros, and Signal 3 warnings for the areas that were first impacted with the storm. Siargao del Norte, Dinagat, Siargao del Sur, the whole province there now, Signal 3, and areas north in southern Leyte, in further north in Cebu, most of the rest of Negros, Guimaras Island, and southern Panay, and Cuyo Islands there as well. Cagayancillo there as well. I'm not sure what they're under. I imagine that would be Signal 3. Just trying to confirm that. Yep, Signal 3. And Signal 2 warnings, of course, for the whole of Palawan. And they'll probably be up to Signal 3 later on as well. And just so many other islands that are under Signal 2 warnings. More messages of thanks, which is, we appreciate it. It is what we're here to do. It's what we're good at. It's what we've been doing for years. And it's what we will continue to do. And we try to figure out the current location of the typhoon, but it would appear to me that it is overland in Cebu and that the landfall would have occurred at Sibonga at about 20 past 9.
I noticed a little gap in the southern part of the storm.
Yes.
Center. I have no idea what that is.
That may be just the disruption of all these landfalls, maybe.
Really?
If you do have any more comments or questions for us whilst we're on the air, that is part of our job here, to take those questions as well. Here is one. Is Rai getting its own core disrupted if it has mountains that it hit like Goni? I think, I'm not sure of the elevations of the areas that it's going to pass over now, but it is a more hefty landmass than what the storm has traversed through so far, so we might see some more wholesale disruption. But I think it may be losing Category 4 status quite clearly. But still, it sounds like Category 3 conditions were possible in Cebu City. Whether that has occurred or not, we'll have to see. But from the videos and images that we were looking at, quite clearly a major event still underway. It is starting to move away from Cebu City. You'll see on the imagery. Probably about 40 kilometers away from the city now, but still very close for comfort.
Twitter is just Twitter and the YouTube chat is alike, in which they are just filled with people just praying for them to be spared, praying for everything to be okay when it is over. And I think that's a message that we all echoed in our minds as this historic storm barreled through the southern Visayas with damage and possible death or probably be apparent when the sun rose in the Philippines tomorrow.
Hero's Journey sends us a message of support and also a question. Any idea when the storm would leave Mactan, or at least when do we estimate the power or phone signal to come back? Well, that might take longer than it will take for the storm to clear the area. It's hard to determine though, because of how weak and flaky the eastern side is. After passing the center of the storm, it probably won't take very long for the storm to loosen its grip on the areas. It's not going to happen yet, but maybe give it a couple of hours for the worst conditions to disappear in the whole Cebu City region. And is it the third strongest one that ever made landfall in December? Now, would that be for the whole of the Philippines? In which I'm really not sure. There's a lot to choose from, of course. I'm really not sure about how it ranks with other December typhoons. Of course, Bhopal was stronger when it made landfall in 2012 at 175 miles per hour. Knock 10 was at least this intensity as well, back in 2016. But I am struggling to think of other December storms. I'll see if I can bring up my more of the information about the history. Maybe I'll be able to tell you information about at least the Visayas region, if not the whole of the Philippines. Just loading things up right now. I'm just looking at another interface, picking out December storms and what the strongest ones were in the Philippines. There's quite a few strong ones. We narrow it down to just category 5s. You're not able to see what I'm doing here. There's not many that were category 5 in the area. So you had Bopa, of course, Hagupit, which weakened to category 3 before landfall, I should say. From category 5, it looked like that would be making a category 5 landfall, but it didn't. Knock 10, which actually weakened to Category 4 before landfall as well. And then the only other one, as far as I can see, is Gilda in 1959, which struck Samar with winds of 160 miles per hour. So this storm would rank joint second, considering that Gilda doesn't have a pressure attached. We couldn't determine whether that would have been stronger or not. Going back through history before 1945, I can't think of any others that would have struck the Philippines as a Category 5. You know, it's quite rare anyway. Never mind in the month of December. But right now we're still looking at the satellite imagery as we wait for news from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. They will have their update coming up fairly soon. Shouldn't be too far off.
It would actually about around, it's due around the same time as the Pagans update, around
Yeah.
15Z or 11 p.m. Philippine time. Though the JWC does have a better track record of publishing advisories early compared to Pagans.
Sometimes they're incredibly early. Alright, trying to get a new center fix on the storm once again. Again, this may not be fully accurate because we're really playing about with pixels at this point because we're unable to see where the actual eye is. Latest estimate is that it is inland over Cebu, probably around 9 kilometers northwest of Sibonga, which leads me to think that it probably made landfall in between Sibonga and Carcass City, and I think the location there is Okanya, which may have received the actual landfall in the end, and that was at about 20 past. As of 32 minutes past, that's the latest, that it's basically halfway over Cebu, and very shortly, in about 10 kilometers, will emerge over water again. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's Mount Lanhan that the storm is passing almost directly over. I don't know the height of that, but that's just what's marked on the map here. It doesn't really show up on any lookups, so I can't assume that it's a major mountain. But the fact that it is going over higher ground is potentially good news. It would mean that the storm has a bigger obstacle and that it may weaken more quickly as a result, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. It's only a small strip of land that it's passing over. Negros might do more in terms of damaging the storm as it passes over there soon. It is now about 30 kilometers from reaching the island of Negros, so that will probably occur in about an hour or less. Questions about what the second peak could be. It would be in the South China Sea, and it would appear to be probably high-end Category 3 or maybe low-end Category 3 now on the latest forecast. We'll see what the Jtwc have to think about that when they put their update out. And a question, what about Aklan as well? They currently have Signal 2 warnings, you will probably be expecting high-end tropical storm winds, probably not typhoon conditions, but with a lot of that. In fact, let's go back to the rain rates. Let's just see if that area is getting significant. Yep, there's some significant rain occurring on Panay right now, fading into those black colours. Once again, that denotes rain rates of about 60 millimeters per hour or higher. So Panay getting a lot of that right now, and the island of Negros. And yeah, that's about all of it right now. And some residual rain showers about to move through Samar as well, or probably already is moving through Samar Island. More significant rainfall there too, can't be ignored. Let's see what more questions we have right now. Is Rai trying to make another eye? It will have a tough deal with trying to do that. And Tropical Storm Alton Nebron, thank you very much for your support. Is Typhoon Rai Category 3 now? Not yet. We think it might have weakened to that threshold now, but is still on the Jtwc a Category 4 with winds of 130 miles per hour, just above that threshold. But weakening will continue, and it's a matter of time until it loses Category 4 status, hopefully for good, during this storm's life. How high is the storm surge currently? That's a question we received. I mean, I'm not sure what the actual observations are, but the forecast was for around 3 meters in the areas that were most susceptible. That being the first landfall zones. I think it extended perhaps to Bohol as well, and Iloilo. And a question on why we expect a low-end Category 3 in the South China Sea, because models have intensification. Well, it could still strengthen beyond that. Climatology would suggest it to be fairly unlikely. The storm is currently battling wind shear. Still fairly uncertain because of how the storm will be by the time it gets past Palawan. But I tell you what, if it starts intensifying again before it reaches Palawan, then there could be a significant, much more significant second peak. Now, a question, is there any dry air in the South China Sea? It's been a while since I had a look at the conditions in that area.
There will be.
Yeah, it looks a little dry.
There is also some monsoonal activity. There will be monsoonal activity, which is few days later.
And a message from Journey Trials and Joy says, my girlfriend is in Hindang. How hard was they hit? As I expect their phones are down. And thank you for your support as well. Although, pardon my ignorance, I'm not exactly sure where Hindang is. So I'll have to do my personal lookup here. In Leyte, I believe. And that must be towards the south. Yeah, so that area will have received most likely typhoon conditions. And I imagine they'll have received significant amounts of rainfall. Let me have a little look and see if I can estimate that. They were hit by some significant rainfall about 2 hours ago. Very strong rainfall actually at that point. So there will have been some significant rain accumulations and flash flooding. That will be receding by this point because in fact the rain is probably lightening up to a drizzle by now in that area, although I expect the winds will probably still be of storm force. At least for maybe another hour. Another question, are we monitoring the Bay of Bengal of another storm to form in the GFS model? Yes. Some of its energy might come from the disturbance that's affecting the Malay Peninsula right now. Most of its energy, though, will come from a disturbance that already exists in the Bay of Bengal at low latitude. Very odd, this one, because it's going the wrong way. It's going east. And rumours on the GFS model, at least, that it could, in fact, move through the Andaman Sea and then the Gulf of Thailand.
Intriguing.
Yes. Let's hope not. That's something to be watching out on later, after this storm has finished what it's doing. That would be next week, incidentally. Probably towards the end of next week, if that was to occur. Now back to more imagery. We're obviously looking at that imagery on our screen. And I'm seeing if we can get an update on the storm's position. Again, it's hard to decipher. And we anticipate that the centre of the storm is probably now, if we're going to put a position on it, at around 10.06 north, 123.50 east, which is about 6 kilometers from the coast. And that would be from... I'm just trying to figure out locations. I think it's Dumanjug, which is very close to the storm right now, and 25 kilometers from landfall on Negros Island. So once again, that is currently occurring. Farhan showing us a sitrep from the Force 13 Twitter platform.
Indeed. I have to give very huge props to the phone experts who has lent pretty much all of today to making graphics to be able to keep up with all of these landfalls that has been happening in the Visayas region. As is often the case with storms that go through this area, there are many landfalls, and so it is very big props to him for keeping up and be there to make these graphics to continuously inform our followers of the current situation with Rai.
And once again, we are receiving quite a lot of email traffic and Twitter messages that only I can answer because of how things are set up here. Because I'm on the air, I can't actually really do that. So your best bet is to put your questions into our live chat on YouTube right now, which is where we all are here. And to use our contact email account and all that stuff for non-urgent questions regarding either this storm or anything that I can pick up after the stream. Urgent questions, things that need to be answered right away, you'll want to use the YouTube chat and tag us in the message. But thank you for your messages, of course, and we will diligently try to get back to all of them. Perhaps not in as timely manner as we would hope, just because of everything that's going on right now. We've got to try and keep everything concentrated in one place. But if you do have questions at this point, start your message with Force 13 all in text. We're probably going to run for one more hour after this, which will take us to the landfall in Negros, most likely. And then we will take a few hours away and probably come back in the morning, much like we did this morning, with more updates on the storm. We will probably hit the airwaves once again at the usual time of 8 a.m. But we'll be here for another hour, taking us through, and well, in fact, the update will be out then as well, so we'll add a little bit more onto that afterwards too, to get out that update when it comes out at 11 p.m. In the meantime, this is Force 13 Live. We're going to take a short break now as we reach the end of the hour, and then we'll be back with another hour plus of coverage of this storm. If you've just joined us, still a Category 4 with winds of 130 miles per hour and a pressure estimate of 936 millibars, and Signal 4 warnings remaining in effect for all of these islands that are around the middle of the storm right now. It's very dangerous. Make sure you remain in safe locations throughout tonight. Particularly dangerous during the night, and obviously the flooding concerns continuing to remain very elevated in a lot of those areas in Mindanao and elsewhere. We'll be back in just a few moments. Stay tuned. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. More continuing coverage on Typhoon Rai, Philippine name Odette, a Category 4, moving through the island of Cebu right now. It made its closest approach in the last hour to Cebu City at around 25 kilometers, maybe 20, and is now starting to pull away, thankfully. We saw all kinds of carnage going on in that region, on the ground imagery and videos earlier, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. Not just from that location, but at points that are still ahead of the storm. Central Negros is next up on the landfall list before it moves on towards Palawan. My name is Nathan Foy. I'm joined by our team once again for another hour. Normally I would show you my face at this point just to be on personal terms, but for some reason the webcam isn't working. Or is it? Nope, it certainly isn't. So I'm joined by my team, Farhan, the phone expert, and Ethan. Hello to all of you for this hour of coverage. And they are exhausted over there, I think.
Well, we don't know what time it is. So, hello.
As always, if you've got comments or questions for us, our team panel will be able to take those and we'll be able to answer them together. Ethan, you're here now. I imagine you're just waking up over there in the United States. What are your latest thoughts on this storm? You were with us for the majority of the coverage this morning in the Philippines. What do you think?
Well, I just woke up about an hour ago, so I'm still not fully awake yet, I guess you could say, but wow, the storm weakened a lot more than what I was thinking that it was going to be. No, we're pretty lucky that we're not looking at a stronger storm now, but I mean, it looks horrible on imagery right now. And what's is that right now? 140 miles an hour?
130.
130. Wow. I would not call this a Cat 4 right now.
Well, it does look horrible, but on the ground reports, the damage is insane.
But it does take time for the winds to wind down, even when the storm looks like trash.
Hey, I mean, after all, Barry was a hurricane, even though it doesn't even look like a tropical cyclone. I'll just remind you all right here, right now.
Yeah, let's not go there. Some more comments just now. Does the US team cover snowstorms? Interesting question to be occurring
Yes,
during
we
this
do.
storm, but they do. Absolutely. You can find them on Force 13 US. They were busy covering more severe weather last night, which is why we're a little bit low on numbers and have been low on numbers during this particular event. But I think we've been doing fairly well. At the end of this hour, we will have new updates from Pagasa, and during this hour, most likely we'll have an update from the Jtwc, which I'm sure Ethan will be eyeing very closely.
Thanks.
Along with that, not sure where I was going with that actually, but Signal 4 warnings remain in effect, and actually we've got Farhan showing us some radar imagery.
No, actually,
Oh dear,
is,
that's the other one.
this is, it's an interesting little footnote, if you will, but the other system that is active but absolutely overshadowed by Rai, Invest 97W, is active in the Gulf of Thailand, in the peninsula, and this is reader from Singapore, and it showed that the circulation is definitely there. It's quite faint, but you can definitely see it. But that's really of no consequences for us right now.
Whatever
because
next.
it is just an invest.
Whatever next. A centre of circulation depicted by Singapore radar there. That's not related to
Yes.
Rai, but might be of
Just an
interest
interesting footnote.
to viewers over there as well. And in Malaysia, of course.
And regular satellite image.
Let's take another look at some rain rate images and see just how that's shaping up right now. Satellite derived rainfall. Just waiting for I think we're waiting for an update in the imagery to appear. And then we'll be able to have a look at that. There it is. So once again, just see those latest frames. Cebu just getting a lot of heavy rainfall there, starting to the main core of the rain core of the storm will be gone within an hour by the looks of things. But until then, still going to be very poor conditions. Over Panay, they're getting very heavy rainfall right now. Parts of Negros Island as well. Bit hit and miss there at the moment. And on Samar, worth pointing out as well, some significant rainfall that's occurring there just now. To reiterate the key to the colours, it's millimetres of rain per hour. And those black areas denote 60 millimetres per hour or higher. Very torrential rainfall.
Yeah, and those torrential rainfalls are going to lead to a lot of flash flooding problems, which I'm sure that we've already been seeing widespread across these areas.
We've got a new position update, and on the latest imagery, we think, although hold on, might need a little bit more analysis before we broadcast. It's hard to tell. We think that the centre of the storm is just about to leave Cebu, is near Dumanjug, pretty much directly over it, and will be emerging over the Tanyon Strait shortly.
Didn't this storm just make landfall too?
Yes, an hour ago.
Well, the islands are not exactly very wide eaten, so it's not exactly staying for very long.
It is moving fairly quickly. Much faster than it was yesterday, I think. We'll take some more comments here. Will we be able to contact people from the affected areas, and when? How long's a piece of string? We've no idea really. Unfortunately. When these things happen, particularly when major flooding events occur in the areas like Mindanao maybe, some areas might take weeks to reach. And a lot of people anxious to know information about damages and effects of the storm. Well, that we're a little bit early for that. I think we've got Christopher back on the line again. And there may be a delay, so I'll just speak a little bit more until he interrupts me, and he's free to do that because he is in the Cebu City region on the island of Cebu, which has most likely just received the worst part of the storm.
Yep, we did I did go through the worst part of the storm, and I guess I could say we with all my neighbors as well. The winds have calmed down now.
And at that point, the signal died.
Signal still isn't the most stable thing for
I don't know about other people, but I still find it very impressive that he just went through the isle. He just went through the isle, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
How is his power still on in a Cat 4?
I don't think it is.
No, he's
using a power bank.
data. He's using mobile data and probably a power bank, so it's not power. Videos from Cebu are all pitch black, basically. Some buildings that have light are just using emergency lamps.
Are back on.
Oh, interesting.
That may still be down. Depends on
really struggling.
What I could hear is that power is back on. That's what I hear.
Providers. So communication is still very, very, very choppy.
You don't say. Very choppy.
And he's gone again.
Yep, unfortunate, but that is to be expected in situations like these. We're waiting on the Jtwc update, which won't be too far off. And a lot of people really asking about, and have been over the last few hours, asking about what's the second peak going to be.
Cat 3.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Pretty solid evidence that it's going to be around there. Of course, you know, that could also change as well. You know, the storm could ramp up faster than we anticipated, or it could even intensify slower than we anticipated too.
Certainly. And after the island of Negros, there's quite a lot of water separating the storm from Palawan, a gulf of 356 kilometers roughly. Do we think there could be some intensification in the Sulu Sea?
Absolutely, there could be. I mean, any intensification in that sea is probably going to be extremely minor. You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 knots or so. It's not going to be very much. Or at least noticeable, I should say.
Alright, just at a bit of a lull here right now. This is Force 13's live coverage on Typhoon Rai, Philippine name Odette. Signal 4 warnings remain in effect for what this is still a Category 4 typhoon. Estimated winds 130 miles per hour, that's still in excess of 200 kilometers per hour. And an estimated central pressure of 936 millibars. Pegasa will update at the end of the hour. We'll be waiting up for that, and then after that comes out, we'll probably finish up here and return in the morning Philippine time at 8 a.m. Of course, we've always got to mention our outlets, even when we're not on the air. There's our social media outlets on Facebook and Twitter, search Force 13. And you can communicate with our community in real time, discord.gg/Force13, to connect with over 3,000 weather watchers, many of which are in the Philippines as well. But they are all around the world. More thanks for the coverage. I mean, you know, we do what we have to do, unfortunately. This is a situation that warrants huge amounts of coverage. It's necessary. It's a massive event. It's really important that we have our say in what's going on. Latest satellite imagery is unclear as to where exactly the center is, whether it's under the convection or whether it's in that little moat, which is what we have been going with recently. But we could narrow it down to a small area as to where the center could be, and by all accounts it's on the western edge of Cebu, about to or possibly already crossing the Tanyon Strait, which will take it onto Negros Island, and we expect landfall there somewhere near La Libertad. And at the current rate of motion of the storm, probably within an hour.
So I know that the storm right now has winds of 130 miles per hour. I'm just catching up on this storm right now. What intensity did it weaken down to at 6Z?
That was 150.
So that's probably around when it made landfall, right? Yeah, just before. So it's pretty safe to
That's
assume
after.
that it's well because 0Z was after we called landfall. So it's pretty safe to assuming that 150 mile an hour
No,
point.
Ethan, you're getting the times mixed up. 06Z is the first landfall. 00Z is when it becomes a Cat 5.
Yeah, I know that.
You say 00Z is the first landfall.
The first landfall occurred at 1:20 p.m. Philippine time, which was 5:20 UTC.
Yeah, I'm just so 40 minutes after that is 6Z, right? And
Yep.
that's when the ATCF went with 150.
Yep.
Pretty safe to assume that this didn't weaken. I mean, this probably didn't weaken 10 miles an hour in 40 minutes over a small island.
No.
Pretty safe to assume that this was not a Cat 5 at landfall.
I think you might be right there. I think Christopher is going to try again. We'll give him as many chances as necessary because obviously right in where the storm is, imperative that we keep trying with him. Do go ahead whenever you're ready, Christopher.
No, it's still not good.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
Massive delay with unmuting, so I assume its data is still very
We
shaky
got
here,
a
but
couple of seconds
it
in
is
there.
no. All right, sorry about that.
Hold on. We've got you right now. Hold on. Try again. No, we're having all kinds of mix-ups there. We did have him just at the end there. But that's the nature of trying to get people on the line during a major typhoon event. And we, of course, thank Christopher for spending his time with us during this crazy event, hopefully from a safe vantage point. More messages of thanks, which we always appreciate. We're always looking to make our coverage better in the future, and to inform people right now of everything that we can offer them with regards to the storm. No new updates from Pegasi yet. Of course, that's coming up in 40 minutes' time. And indeed, nothing from the Jtwc yet either.
It would be 40 minutes from the forecast if they are on time, but so far it has not happened. It has not ever happened so far during Rai.
Well, I can only read off the scheduled update time, so 40 minutes from now. Looking at the wide shot of the infrared imagery here again, and you can see the storm's progress. Cebu just about in those dark colours, starting to recede. Conditions will be improving.
So I imagine some relief is on the way for these people in the Philippines.
Well, Ethan, we were talking a lot about the wind shear last night, our time, and the eastern side of the storm has been shredded away massively, which is really good news because basically it should take maybe 2 or 3 hours after the center passes that the storm is gone, basically.
Yep. Won't be very long until until we're seeing the end of this.
If we were to measure, say, significant cloud tops, which I know is a subjective thing, but measuring significant cloud tops to the west goes on for about 400 kilometers. To the east, it goes on for about 160 kilometers. Pretty crazy. Very lopsided to the west. We'll take any questions that come in and messages. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. There's not a huge amount that we can do during this time apart from respond to you really and just give our little comments in on the latest satellite imagery frames. Will this be the last storm of the year in the Western Pacific? Possibly not.
I think it will be.
Well, 97W has a center of circulation.
I think that that system's energy, if you ask me, is more likely to form in the North Indian Ocean rather than the Westpac. If you ask me.
And that is going to move into the Westpac, by the way.
Yeah, so this may not be done yet.
It's going the wrong way. And as I mentioned last time, very long range models depict another Western Pacific typhoon. I wouldn't worry about it yet, but that would be in the last days of the year if it was to happen. Although having said that, just looking at the latest GFS long range, it's struggling to form anything really. So I would say that that would probably be it. And quite spooky that the long-range GFS runs now extend out to January the 1st next year. But the good news is that there's nothing in the Atlantic in that time on the GFS run. Thank goodness.
Reject the Atlantic.
Let's not go there. A question for Mark there. ETA until the next landfall. I'll get onto that shortly. First of all, let's see if I can get a new position update. There will be. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where the center of the storm is now. It's getting increasingly harder to tell. But our best estimate right now is that it is probably at 10.08 north, 123.40 east, which puts it over the Tanyon Strait, 5 kilometers off Damanjug on Cebu, and 14 kilometers away from Negros Island. Movement in the last hour. That will be another approximation because we're not really sure where the center is. Approximately 28 kilometers. So if that's true, then quarter past is the latest image. You'll be looking at a landfall on Negros at 11:45. So it's conceivable that that might come in before the before the Pagasa update. As we know, on the CDPS scale, it probably made a stage 7 landfall, Ethan. Is that right?
8.
8.
It was a high end. It was a very low end stage 8 when it made landfall.
That's that very major intensity, destruction potential. Rainfall is going to be a massive concern.
And I should note that that stage 8 on the CDPS scale, that still assumes a landfall intensity of 135 knots. So it doesn't matter if it's a Cat 1, Cat 5, it can still do significant damage and it still needs to be monitored extremely closely.
I've just remembered what I was going to look up now. It took me a while to remember it. Go ahead, Farhan, you've got another image to show us, I think.
Well, yeah, this is image of the, well, traffic coordination in the midst of the flood in Lanao del Sur. Quite high, still up to people's adults' hips. But that's the kind of thing you expect. The main thing that just popped into my mind is that, as it turns out, Washi, the storm that is many people are comparing to Rai in terms of potential damage, the anniversary of its landfall is actually today. I thought it was tomorrow, but no.
Gosh.
Today is the 10th anniversary of the landfall of Tropical Storm Washi, which killed more than 2,000 people in the Philippines. We could only hope that Rai is nowhere near that deadly, but we don't really know as of yet.
Let's hope it stays as far away from that number as possible.
We don't have much information regarding damage just yet. It'll be a while until that comes in, I imagine. And we just have this another little wait here until the next update from Pegasa, of course, which is what we're really all waiting for. There's another comment that came in earlier. Any update in southern Leyte? From what I've heard, there's no news out of there yet. No communication lines are down. I imagine there will have been very heavy rainfall. Rain accumulations exceeding 300 millimeters, flash flooding, and extremely strong winds in the southernmost part of Leyte of category 3 strength or higher. Apparently new flood advisory updates on Panahon. GovPH red alert extended to the north. And another question about any updates for Giyuan. Again, I'm not hearing anything, but I think Farhan's got your ears closer to the ground. But if I hear anything like that, then
Well, there hasn't been any more
obviously
reports
report it.
from Eastern Samar, which is where Guyan is. The last piece of news that I captured from Guyan was actually on yesterday's team 24 hours ago, from the mayor saying that they have evacuated about 12,000 families. But that's it. I haven't seen anything else. That was 24 hours ago.
Just looking at media, there's not been much information out of there at all. Just that there would have obviously been strong winds. Towards southern Leyte, though, just trying to see what we've got there. I'm seeing damage photos, quite significant, probably resembling category 3 conditions. But images and content are very few and far between. Zenitsu.
Hello.
Yep. Hello. Anything for us?
Not much for now. From Pagasa. Still waiting for the 11 p.m. bulletin and heavy rainfall warning.
Information, I assume now will be pretty sparse and few in between, of course.
Latest satellite images, Ethan, showing convection building up again a little bit, more than it was a little bit ago. That might just be that it's the convection's over Negros and possibly altitude assisted, you could say. Let's see if we can get another update on the position of the storm right now. Again, these are ballpark estimates at this point, considering that we've not got a clear fix on the eye. But we expect that as of 22 minutes past, which is 10 minutes ago, that the storm is 9 kilometers from Negros Island, and that would be just north of La Libertad. Not exactly sure what the locality is called there, just south of Gihulnagan. And it will be moving through those areas very shortly, possibly still with Category 4 winds until we know more. Although we think it might be a little bit weaker by this point. But I think it's safe to say that we'll still have major typhoon winds of over 185 kilometers per hour sustained.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. And despite its satellite appearance, Nathan, as you said a while back, that the winds could still be lagging behind the satellite appearance a little bit. So this still could have major, 140 mile an hour sustained winds, but we just don't know because ground observations are very few in between. But I think our safest bet right now for intensity regarding this thing is probably around 125 miles per hour. That would be what I would peg it at currently.
Yeah, I'll be inclined to agree on that.
This weakening trend is about what we expected yesterday, right?
I suppose it is. It's not been a collapse.
Oh my goodness. Nathan, there's a damaged picture from Supermercado IT Park in Cebu. It is up on my screen. It's completely trash, as you could see. I assume most of the debris we could see here are from roof shingles from the surrounding buildings. But that is just absolutely trash to bits.
I'll send a picture of a before and after. In the live discussion, we could just put that up there.
So a recent picture there, as you can quite clearly see. Damage in the area.
Alright, let's get that image you just set up on my screen. Alright, it is now up. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not roof shingle, it's mostly from the tents of this convention or whatever. It's just been torn to shreds.
The leaves have just been stripped.
Oh yeah, the leaves are pretty much gone as well.
Also, if you can see that building on the right of the picture, or actually, around the center right, just behind the site, not that building. Wait, hold on. It's like to the center right of the screen for the first picture.
Yes.
I think that building's gone.
No, it isn't.
No, they're all quite mid-rise. They're all mid-rises.
No, I wasn't talking about the mid-rises.
Oh no! I know what you're talking about. No, it's here.
No, the one beside that. The one beside that.
Well, the second picture doesn't show it. It's off screen in the second picture.
Oh. Not sure.
Whatever the case, this is the damage photo. Many people have been wondering about how the damages are so far. Well, here is one from Cebu.
We are 20 minutes away from the scheduled update times from both the Jtwc and Pegasa. Neither of them have come in yet, although you might not expect that they would. Jtwc are usually a little bit early. As soon as we hear more, we will let you know. Let's flick back to the rain rate imagery again if we can, to show you the latest in that regard, which areas are experiencing the worst rainfall. It's probably got some new images that are just waiting to load in, and here we go. So once again, over Panay, actually not as bad in that last frame, but still significant rainfall amounts occurring. And then you've got the central core, so Negros in general having a bad time with rainfall right now. Cebu just about to leave the big rainfall zone. Hopefully that will be mainly it for them. There's still a few little showers that are moving through Mindanao, and they could have isolated sharp rain storms that could cause more flash flooding misery. And more showers developing along Samar as well by the looks of things. They look like they're in for a little bit of a line of rainstorms as well shortly. So that's another visualization of what we've got going on right now. One of my favourite type of images is this, the geocolor. Even at night looks fascinating to look at and really shows you the structure of the storm fairly well. Moving over the islands. The eye is not easily visible there at all, even on this imagery. Let's see if we can get some more comments then. We had one just now about whether there's any tornado news. I assume you mean within the storm, but I've not heard anything on that.
I have a challenge for you, Nathan, if you're up for it.
Well, what is it?
Have we read out any of the latest signal warnings recently?
It's been a little while, and they'll be updating them soon. But to just reiterate the worst ones on the screen: Southern Leyte still under Signal 4, Bohol, Southern Cebu, and basically half of Negros, the central part. Signal 3 warnings, which were extended to cover the whole of Siargao del Sur at the last update, I think it was. Maybe it was the one before. Extending up half of Leyte as well, a little bit of the rest of Cebu, and for the southern part of Panay. And those Signal 2 warnings extending all around the Visayas region and in northern Mindanao. I'm not going to go into much detail because the new update isn't too far away. But we are here to help and to take questions. If you have any, start your message with Force 13 all in text. The flow of chat goes quite quickly. It would be impossible to read out every question that people send in that doesn't tag us. Farhan once again showing us one of our sit reps.
Yeah, I'm just circling through our latest post, just looking at the performance of likes and retweets, just for posterity's sake. And it's been doing quite well, as you might expect. We have a huge follower base in the Philippines, and they all just come out of the woodworks when a big storms hit them. We've seen it with Rai, we've certainly seen it with Goni last year. So yeah, that's how it's been doing.
Still very difficult to figure out where the center of the storm is. Best estimate right now is that it is probably, and we say probably because we're not sure, 8 kilometers off the coast of Negros Island. Although if we've got the wrong center point, it could be as little as 2 kilometers off the coast. We're not sure. And another show of support from Jason Samilano there. How much they appreciate our live stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. Unfortunately not under better circumstances. You know, we do what we can.
Just having a look over some surface observations right now. We just gotten, I don't know if it matters, but we just gotten an ASCAP pass. And the wind field of this thing is very large. And it, I forget what that large bay area is to the west of the storm right now, which will be passing through in a few hours. But tropical storm force winds already extend halfway, if not 2/3 of the way across that entire bay. It's the Sulu Sea, what I'm referring to.
You're saying 2/3 of the way to Palawan?
Yeah, already.
Wow.
Already tropical storm force winds extend 2/3 of the way across.
Kenneth is also with us now, joining us from Hong Kong and one of our main cyclone analysts. What are your thoughts on this storm as you take a look at it today?
After rapid intensification in mid-landfall, and we see currently it's rapidly weakening because of land interaction. So I would like to read out one of the very important surface observation from Mason City, if I remember correctly, yes, which recorded a station pressure of 936.5 millibars station pressure at around 6:10 p.m. Yes, 6:10, and station pressure which translates. Currently we're still unsure of the elevation of the station, but that station pressure would support central pressure around 940 to 945 range, which is much higher than what currently Jtwc estimate at 8 p.m. Which a very reasonable assumption right now. It is still currently weakening, although very significant rainfall. And all right, time for me to share screen yet again.
And where was that again?
From Mason City. Maasin.
Maasin City.
Yeah.
In southern Leyte. Interesting.
Near that, yeah. It is very near the center, but still with gale force wind 68 kilometers per hour still recorded. So a reasonable estimate is 940 to 945 at 6 p.m. So with the continuous weakening trend, it may right now near 950 millibar central pressure, which is much higher than what the surface observation rigorously suggests that the current intensity is at least one category lower than what Jtwc currently estimates. But
Can
still,
I have
yes?
a question? Is re-intensification expected in the Sulu Sea?
So see, well, I'll say it don't have a chance. It doesn't have a chance to re-intensify until it fully leaves the Philippines, and it needs time to reorganize itself before further intensification. So far, the inner eye wall, because it did undergo when it did undergo our replacement cycle, later this this morning, and make landfall with a double eye wall structure. Sorry. currently the inner eye wall is broken, but still you can see some kinds of outer eye will still survive. Which I think it needs to reorganize that the messiness after landfall before maybe some intensification we may see. I'll say at least we have to wait for tomorrow, at least like afternoon, sometime like that.
Alright.
Interesting. So how strong do you actually think the storm is now?
So currently, if I use 950, that I'll try that this estimate because I currently estimate a central pressure near 950 millibars. So I'm gonna do a little bit of calculation. So
Kenneth's got the calculator out right now.
Okay, this value.
Landfall on Negros is imminent, we can tell you. It is probably 4 kilometers offshore as of half past, so it may well have made landfall there already by now.
I'll say the current intensity because of the double arrow structure and land interaction. So 950 millibar, I'll say it translates to only 95 to 100 knots, which is 175 to 185 kilometers per hour around 1 minute sustained currently.
So low end category 3.
Yeah, a low end category 3, and possibly it will only be a category 2 as it leaves Philippines.
So that's Kenneth's thoughts on that right now. Officially, at least on the Jtwc's radar, still at category 4 with 130 miles per hour. Considering that the 3 p.m. update isn't out yet, which is pushing it a little bit late.
You mean 11 p.m.?
Well, yeah, the 11 p.m. local time from Jtwc isn't out. Could they be having a real think about whether they'll be going with the ATCF or maybe they'll go against it a little bit?
Well, it won't be really deviate too much because the data in my city it is preliminary and probably is not adopted by Jtwc. But I mean it's still somewhat well, I'll say the reliability is high, but to rigorously prove that it is around 945 to 950 right now, given it's the weakening. But I hope it can be reflected in future estimate in any agency estimates. But yeah, well, at least I'll adopt it. I mean, every ounce of surface observation is very useful, particularly for strong system that can use for any documentary analysis stuff, which surface observation is utmost crucial.
And we confirm a landfall over Negros.
Have we? It probably has.
So that would be the 9th landfall?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't confirmed it at this end just yet. In fact, new imagery has just come in and we might be able to declare it now. Just hold the phone for a minute. Yep, that looks like landfall will have occurred at around 22. That's 10 minutes ago. And that the landfall point is around 5 kilometers south of Gihungan, 6 kilometers north of La Libertad, that of course being on the island of Negros, and then continuing to move westwards. And that, in the absence of any other information, will initially go down as a Category 4 landfall. Not sure whether it is or not. And that would be the... can't remember what record that is actually. It's the furthest south on Negros that a major typhoon has hit. And it is certainly one of the strongest storms to impact the island, tied with Mike in 1990. And Mike is the only major typhoon to have made landfall on the island at that intensity. So this is now the second. That's in the modern era. There are some historic storms, such as the Typhoon of November 1912, that may have been a major on landfall on Negros as well. So another landfall on an increasing list. Siargao Island, Dinagat Island. I think it would. I was asleep during this time. Panion Island, I think it was a landfall. Southern Leyte. Bohol, possibly twice. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with Cebu and 8 with Negros. We'll still take comments and questions whilst we're on the air. We'll be continuing pretty much until we recap the information from Bagasso when they come up with their next update. And that is expected fairly soon. Exactly when, we're not really sure, because Pagasa have a tendency to be a bit late. Can't blame them in these circumstances. And once again, regarding what we're looking at on the screen, those pink areas still denoting minus 80 degree cloud tops, which are still quite common around the core of the storm, a strong core, huge rain rates inside that. The grey to white areas there beside it are minus 70s degrees cloud tops. Cloud top temperature denotes or indicates the cloud top height, and the higher the clouds there, usually the more precipitation is contained inside, and cloud top patterns and the ice structure go hand in hand to determining a storm's intensity, at least based on satellite. And as we know, our latest estimates are that it's still a Category 4 with winds of 130 miles per hour. Incidentally, ADT, if it's still up to date, is still at 130 knots, which would be 150 miles an hour. I struggle to see how you can come up with that from a satellite, though, personally, because it doesn't look as good as that, in my opinion. Although the T numbers are going down. So we wait for some more information, which
Strange.
is not very
GTWC.
forthcoming right now.
Yeah, GTWC is still not having anything up. It's strange. Maybe they are going to override TCF and go lower.
They must be having a think about it. But we will be staying on here until those updates come out, so who knows how long we'll be waiting for that. Great time to send in your questions, because we're sort of playing for time until we get those updates, really. The storm's position, if you missed it earlier, made landfall on Negros at about 22:11. And that landfall was near Grihonagan City. It's still got a significant wind field. Tropical storm force winds will be felt all the way through the Visayas. More questions about whether we have images and updates in Southern Leyte. I've had a look around. There's not much. There's one or two images of an area looking very disheveled. Some minor to moderate building damage. And trees looking very forlorn. I would imagine category 3 conditions.
Just want to point out it is less than a minute until top of the hour now, and Jtwc's warning is nowhere to be seen, which is great. Which is great.
So we'll be sitting waiting for that.
I'm just gonna have a look at sea surface temperatures for this system out ahead of it. So let's have a
Fairly
look.
warm.
Let's see. Yeah, it went over sea surface temperatures prior to its first landfall of 30 to 29 degrees Celsius. Right now over the, what was that sea called again? The Sulu Sea. It's going to be traversing over sea surface temperatures of 28 degrees Celsius. Won't be that favorable for re-intensification, but once it's back past that past Palawan, sea surface temperatures do go back up very slightly for about a day or so before they begin to drop off. And really, once the storm begins to make that curve towards the northeast, sea surface temperatures drop off a cliff.
Ethan, we have breaking news. I have to break you here. We have the Jtwc update.
We do.
Finally. Alright, let's see what they're going with. They've...
In Zulu,
With a cone as well, so we'll be able to show that to you immediately.
Already?
This
they have
is
winds with
not that one.
130 miles per hour.
This one is the latest from the JTWC, showing 130 miles per hour right now. That is an old position from when it was over Bohol. They used the 12 UTC positions. That's 3 hours ago, just to clear that one up. They expect...
I should note that something interesting has changed in this forecast cone.
Okay.
It's not that significant, but that last final point, that's actually a post-tropical cyclone point. That's not tropical.
Yeah, well, that's not a surprise.
Well, this is the first cone that's called for that, which is certainly a relief to see this has gone in 5 days.
Oh yes, weakening to 90 knots, 105 miles per hour through Palawan, and then strengthening again to Category 3. And then that really rapid weakening as it steers up off the coast of Vietnam.
I think that if this, with his looks right now, I mean, just look at how horrible it looks. I think that a Cat 3 peak in the South China Sea is even becoming a stretch, maybe.
I don't know. Very warm sea surface temperatures.
Well, we should see the surface observation before it really leaves the Philippines, I'll say. Because
Yep.
there's
That will be the
also
decider.
some kind of surface observation in some islands in South China Sea. Which there's some weather stations see if Rai gonna approach those islands again, such that we can make a more precise conclusion.
So now we're waiting for updates from Pagasa, which will come in, I don't know, sometime soon. But that's the latest cone from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, showing that the storm will be gone in 5 days' time, and we'll all be very happy to see that.
Yes. Very much so.
Back to the latest satellite imagery, which shows the current position of the storm, and quite intense it still is. Let's see if we've got a new position estimate. It really appears to be sweeping through Negros right now. It is inland by approximately 4 kilometers. So give it about an hour and a half at most, and it will be clear of Negros as well. It's actually crossing the island at one of its narrowest points before moving into the Sulu Sea and passing just south of Panay. So all eyes on Pagasa at this point as we wait for their update. Send in your messages, questions and the like. Start your message with Force 13 all in text in our YouTube chat and it will light up for us.
I should note that I think it's quite likely at this update that Pagasa drops Signal 4, if you ask me.
Possible. A question.
Possible.
Was Siargao City hit hard? I would imagine that it was. I don't think we've seen much
It
from there.
already was hit. It's soon.
I don't think we saw very much imagery from there at all. We saw more from Cagayan de Oro.
Well, actually, I just realized something. The JTWC seems to have changed nothing about the intensity. But the presentation has been degrading ever since these past like 3 hours or so. So I'm kind of interested in why they do that.
It's probably because they're using their 12Z intensity estimate, which is a massive flaw about them.
The more pressing question is, if they change nothing, why did they all look for Seoul?
Yeah. Well, probably for the cone, I guess.
I'm sure they have their reasons.
Well, that'll be mainly due to some kind of constraints that shouldn't have been applied.
We continue to watch this storm on our screens here. Not much else to say until we get the update.
Pagasa still refuses to issue their 11 PM advisory.
More questions. Will winds pick up in Cebu City again based on the latest satellite imagery, or has the worst of it passed? I think it's getting fairly safe to say that the worst of it has passed and it will that the eastern side of the storm is very weak comparatively compared to the western part. Do you feel that wind shear?
I think
What
they're
I'm
probably
more worried about is Iloilo City, which Bagasa has forecasted up to 3 meters of storm surge. If the western side is more powerful than the eastern side, who knows?
I think what that comment was referring to is maybe the blow above convection that's happening over Bohol. That's more likely to bring more heavy rainfall than stronger winds, if anything.
That's still concerning.
Yeah, very concerning either way.
Looking at all of those areas once again on the screen. Let's go back to the more zoomed out version of the infrared imagery to show you the full picture. And it's carrying a lot of convection north as well. So some significant rainfall overnight could occur in southern Luzon. As for Mindanao as a whole, it's almost in the clear.
Yeah, Bagas is still expecting some rains in Zamboanga Peninsula.
Yep, they're definitely still in there. Zamboanga getting their closest approach roundabout now.
How long is this going to? How long are we going to stream? By the way,
We are going off the air when we get the Pegasa update and discuss it a little bit.
Okay.
But for those viewing, we will be back with more coverage at 8 a.m. in the morning. But at this point, it really is just a wait for the update to come out. I don't suppose anyone else has got any comments for us right now, or anything they'd like to note?
One thing that I'd like to point out here on the Pagasa website, on the homepage, they show a map of overview of the signal warnings and the threat. And for whatever reason, there is this random signal 4 in Isabela.
What?
It's hilarious. If you could switch to, hold on, let me screen share real quick.
What? Where
Your
is
code is broken. Yeah, I can see it.
Oh yes, they've broken it.
And there's all this, all of it makes sense. Category 4 in Negros, Bohol, Cebu, even Southern Leyte still. Category Signal 2, Signal 1. And all of a sudden, all the way northern here, in Isabela, Signal 4. that is kind of comical.
True though.
No, of course not. It's just extremely comical.
But hold on a minute, what's going on up there?
Randomly there.
Now hold on, what's going on? They've got Signal 2 there for Rizal.
Yeah.
And Signal 1 for Aurora.
That's confusing us.
That can't be happening. And Signal 3 wedged in there, is it? Or is that a rain?
Well,
That's
we've
a rain.
seen these random upgrades, but they don't actually happen. Maybe they just confuse their code or something.
Well, something's happened there. That's on the Pegasa website, but to our knowledge, that's not the case. Certainly not that Signal 4 in Isabela.
No, of course not.
I swear. That just one random cloud becomes a super typhoon random.
Where is
Okay.
the Pagasa?
Pagasa is 10 minutes late.
I guess they're fixing the Isabela problem.
Perhaps.
Isabela province is so... It's who knows?
Let's see if there's time to get another update on the storm's position. It might be becoming more clear again, maybe. I don't know. It's still hard to discern. It's about 8 kilometers inland now over Negros, and that would take it 34 kilometers from reaching the coast again and entering the Sulu Sea. Now, Farhan, you're showing us that imagery there, and if you were to zoom out again, you can see all of that very dry air in the South China Sea and all around the storm to the north and flanking it, really. I mean, that's really, really dry air, those black areas.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It is very dry to the north of the storm. It's really only in a bubble of moist air in its current position right now.
Yeah. That just
I have wait.
yes.
I have a video from Facebook showing people. Oh wow! And
What
they're
happened?
struggling to hold the door. It just burst open. I have to link the video in live discussion if anyone could stream that in a bit.
Well, we're waiting on that and on Pegasa's update. Still, according to Jtwc, a 130 mile per hour ferocious Category 4 storm. Central pressure estimate 936 millibars. Kenneth, our analyst here, thinks it's weaker. And I think that it's weaker as well, but that's what the Jtwc are currently going with.
This was at approximately 9 p.m. Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Hmm. So
struggling.
that was earlier.
So-
Quite serious. I imagine that might have been in Cebu, yep. So there we go. Let's see if there's any more information coming out just now. Not at the moment. Not just now. I don't think. Let's just see. Start your message with Force 13 all in text whilst we're just laying about here. Is this the first Category 5 storm in December since the last 5 years?
No, actually, the last Cat 5 was actually Nocten in 2016, and before that it was Hagapit in 2014.
Well, that was the last
Which
5
is
years.
5 years
That's the
ago.
last 5 years. 2021 1 and 2016 is 5.
So, yes, there hasn't been one since in the month of December.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm just
currently
trying-
operation, yes.
I'm just trying to remember the last one before Bofa.
Yes,
Both
I'm struggling to think of that too.
It's gotta be like some of those in like the 2000s.
Well, the last one was 2009 of Nida, but that's an open sea fish system of a very strong super typhoon.
Ah.
And the Pagasa bulletin on my screen. There's probably huge demand for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure other Cat 5s in December. Before that, I would think back to Faxai of 2001, but there might have been one since, between 01 and 09 or whatever.
I believe, in my memory, no. Just, before 2009, there's only one in 2001 of Faxai.
This is a storm for the history books.
No news that has reached us yet. We're still waiting on anything that might come in shortly. The storm is squarely over the island of Negros now, and it is still very powerful. It's still got some decent structure. It's producing very large amounts of rainfall, particularly near its core. A question from Super Typhoon Tracker is, are the models indicating if there's another possibility of a disturbance after Rai? Unlikely.
I mean, we can't rule it out yet, but it's in long range. You know, it can be inaccurate.
And how big is Typhoon Rai now?
According to the Pag-asa bulletin, strong winds or higher extend outwards up to 480 kilometers from the center. I don't know if that's a good estimate. If anyone could possibly say.
On the Jtwc's update, they have a gale force wind diameter of around 260 nautical miles, which is about 400 kilometers or something like that, with the typhoon force wind field diameter being around about 80 nautical miles, which in kilometers would be about 140-ish. So still a sizable typhoon wind field, 140 kilometers. Would almost completely cover in fact, I reckon it quite neatly fits in the signal 4 warning zone that's over Negros right now.
Signal. Yep. Oh, areas in. As of the 8 p.m. bulletin, by the way, that's not new.
Still waiting on that right now. And whilst we do wait, there really isn't much else to say. You can stay in touch on our social media channels, Force 13 on Facebook and Twitter. You can join our Discord community to discuss weather with over 3,000 people around the world, a lot of them in the Philippines as well. Discord.gg/Force13. And the big question really is, are we going to see an extension of Signal 3 warnings? And are we going to see the scrapping of Signal 4 warnings yet from Pag-asa when their update comes out? I think... Is their update out now?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh no, that's an old image. Thought something had changed just then.
Well, this is quite suspenseful. Not really, but...
It's red.
Are they normally this late?
Probably going to be anticlimactic once the bulletin is released.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it will be.
But the suspense is real.
So we're still waiting on that as we look at the wide shot of the infrared imagery and also the geocolor showing you the storm's progress. Always mesmerizing things to look at. Unfortunately, it comes with a high cost when they impact land, as this one has. In the run-up to this, over 10 million people were inside a 10% chance of damaging winds. And I imagine maybe even more than that are under for some severe flooding concerns. And people may remember that this happened, the Category 5 peak happened very suddenly from a
Unexpectedly.
Category 2 forecast peak a day before landfall
It's
to the
made 8
Category 5
landfalls.
status.
8 landfalls.
Yep. 8 landfalls over the course of today.
8?
Yep.
Yep.
8 and possibly, well, probably 2 more coming.
The ones confirmed by Pagasa are 8 landfalls, or 7.
8 landfall, possibly 2 more, which means 10 landfalls.
Really, is it
Same
7?
as Irma.
Probably because they haven't confirmed this. Wait, has Pagasa confirmed the Cebu landfall?
Cebu?
Yeah, Cebu.
Aren't we still waiting for the 11 p.m. advisory and they'll announce it?
Well, everyone is refreshing the Pagasa website.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Spamming F5.
And
On my keyboard, you
I
have to spam
may-
F7 because of this broken keyboard mechanic.
I may produce a video update on Rai after the live stream ended. Or some conclusion no work. Hello, what is that?
Farhan, you've got something there, have you?
That's an evacuation site.
Picture of an evacuation center, yes. The evacuation centers in the town of Sipalay. I have no idea where that is.
We're still waiting for some more information. Nothing to report yet.
Pagasa is 24 minutes late.
Why are they so late?
I assume they are late because they're trying to verify. I will be right back.
Just lost one of the pages that I was looking at.
Not really much that we can say at this point.
Yeah,
Storm
we're at a big
dreadful, though.
impasse right now. You think it looks dreadful?
Yeah. I think it might be a low in Cat 3. We can
Well,
improve it. We can
Factually, it is low in Cat 3 or even high in Cat 2. Already weakened 2.
Maybe.
Either way you look at it, it's weakening.
It of course is rapidly weakening. Surface observation already improved flight. It already rose to 9:45 like 5 hours ago. So right now probably in 9:50s.
We have a report from Christopher, who is sadly not in the on air. He is saying that winds have picked up again.
There will be a couple of times where that will happen. I expect the winds will properly die down in Cebu and the region around there. About an hour, maybe 2. The rain should be much less than it was earlier, though.
Fully.
So I can see everyone in our studio here sitting about waiting for the 11 p.m. update from Pegasa.
Yes.
They're taking forever. Again.
I mean, it has probably made a lot of landfalls by now. So they're
Absolutely.
trying, since the last bulletin was published. So I think they're just trying to confirm all information and try to assess the situation. So you can't really blame them for being slow.
The storm is currently inland over the island of Negros and is continuing to weaken, it would seem.
I will say it hasn't weakened as quickly as I would have liked it to, though.
Yes.
It's still a category 4. So it's still an unprecedented landfall.
Real-time numbers haven't budged on that either, so...
Oh, we have 11 p.m. update. Odette
Fine.
further weakens and makes landfall in the vicinity of Karkar, Cebu.
Yep.
We can confirm that Pagasa has only only confirmed one landfall, and that is in Karkar, Cebu. Signal number 4 warnings are still in effect for western portion of Bohol, central and southern portions of Cebu, northern and central portions of Negros Oriental, and the central and southern portions of Negros Occidental. Warnings have been lifted for signal number 4 warnings has been downgraded to signal number 3 in southern Leyte. So here, signal number 3 for the northern portion of Palawan, including Cagayan Silio and Cuyo Island, southwestern portion of Leyte, western portion of southern Leyte, northern portion of Cebu, including Camotes Islands, rest of Bohol, rest of Negros Oriental, Siquijor, northern portion of Negros Occidental, Guimaras, southern portion of Iloilo, and the southern portion of Antique. And we have signal number 2 warnings over Albay, Sorsogon, Masbate, including Ticao and Burias Islands, Romblon, Oriental Mindoro, Occidental Mindoro, rest of Palawan, including Calamian and Spratly Islands, Northern Samar, Eastern Samar, Samar, Biliran, rest of Leyte, rest of Southern Leyte, rest of Cebu, including Bantayan Islands, rest of Negros Occidental, rest of Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, rest of Antique, Dinagat Islands, Siargao del Norte, northern portion of Siargao del Sur, Agusan del Norte, northern portion of Agusan del Sur, Misamis Oriental, Camiguin, northern portion of Bukidnon, Lanao del Norte, Misamis Occidental, extreme northern portion of Zamboanga del Norte. And this is probably going to take forever to read all of the signal warnings. So basically provinces south of Batangas and Quezon are under signal number 1 warning if they haven't been mentioned, and provinces north of Davao Oriental that aren't under a signal warning that I have mentioned are under signal number 1. In the bulletin, heavy to torrential rainfalls are still expected over central and western Visayas until tomorrow early morning. And that is expected to continue for Western Visayas until Saturday early morning, which is pretty concerning because uh, these are pretty destructive floods. Um, Pagasa is still expecting storm surge of up to 3 meters within the next 24 hours, which may cause life-threatening flooding in the coastal areas of Central Visayas, Iloilo, Antique, Guimaras, Negros Occidental, and several areas in the northern portion of Palawan. And high seas are are pretty much expected at 10 meters, which will be risky for all types of sea vessels. And gale warning has been issued for areas that have not been included in the signal warning. Pag-asa is expecting it to emerge um in the Sulu Sea as 155 kilometers per hour, and after making landfall in Palawan, having wind speeds of 150 kilometers per hour, it is expected to recurve, and it is more from land, actually more far from China than last bulletin.
The image is slowly coming onto our screen like it's coming out of an old printer, and you can see that Signal 3 warnings there extending into Palawan now. The rest of it will load in its own time, but that is the state of the load on the server, I would imagine. There's the latest. It's still unfolding as of 11 p.m. What's the biggest takeaway there then? Miss were they under Signal 2 before?
Which one? Which province?
Miss Occidental and Zamboanga del Norte?
Yeah.
So that's not so the biggest change really is Palawan entering Signal 3 and the warning starting to reduce on the eastern side.
Southern Leyte was under a full signal number 4 warning earlier. Now, only the western portion of Southern Leyte is under signal number 3, and also Leyte, that's also under signal number 3. Well, even though you're not even though you're probably not under strong signal warning, it's still going to provide a very bad impact in terms of heavy rainfall. So just try shelter in place, do the necessary precautions, or if you didn't already, it's probably too late, but try to survive. And yeah.
The typhoon still remains very powerful, around 130 miles per hour sustained winds, pressure of around 936 millibars. That new update out from Pagasa with those changes in the signal warnings. But that's what we were waiting on for, so we're going to be finishing up the stream roundabout now. We will be back again with more updates at 8 a.m. Philippine time tomorrow morning. So that's in just over 8 hours time now. We'll have more on developments regarding this storm. It's passed through most of the islands now. It's still got a few more ahead of it. Southern Panay, Guimaras Island as well will be in on the biggest part of the storm nearly fairly soon, and then Palawan. So a few areas that are still ahead of this that we're watching out for, leaving behind perhaps a trail of destruction that we're still yet to fully realise. Any final comments from our team?
Historic storm certainly, and I suppose most people in its path and most of us right here on the call is starting to feel a bit relieved that the storm is now starting its final round trip around the Philippines, and it will soon be over for the Philippines, and it will be in the South China Sea. Of course, there could still be quite a lot of destruction in the remaining islands in its path, but I think for the time being, most people are quite glad that the end is in sight.
Um,
Kenneth.
We have some new surface observations from probably from from Cebu airport. Records a sustained winds of 15 knot, gusting 19 knot, and an SLP of 974 millibars before communication went down around an hour or something ago.
That's interesting. Zenitsu?
Yep, that's a very useful information. Yes, Zenitsu?
well, all I can say is listen to local advice on local government units. And well, God bless you all.
Indeed.
Well, that's it from our live team now. We're finishing up this part of our coverage. Once again, we're back at 8 a.m. Philippine time with more information and coverage on this storm. In the meantime, you can access us on social media. Search Force 13 all in text on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is right here. And you can join our Discord server to chat with weather watchers from around the world in real time. Discord.gg/Force13. But from here at Force 13 HQ, we're out for the night. Hope things get better over there. But obviously, we've seen another catastrophic trail from another typhoon affecting the Philippines. Back in the morning at 8 a.m.